Today, we're very honored to have in our midst Professor Jim Patel. He started a variety of courses from operations to accounting to computer modeling. He is served on the GSB's Associate Dean of Academic Affairs. Today, he heads one of the most exciting courses at Stanford. It's called Entrepreneurial Design for Extreme Affordability. It's the design school course. It's really hard to get to. It's very highly sought after. And it's actually the course that inspired the design section of our event today. So with that, please give a warm welcome to Professor Jim Patel.
So it's my opportunity to welcome you to Stanford, Stanford University as a whole. Design for Extreme Affordability is a course that we started just a little bit less than 11 years ago. We're in the midst of the 11th year now. And over those 11 years, we have enrolled 409 students from 28 programs and departments across the campus. We have had students from every school on campus as part of that course. We design products and services for the citizens of the poorest nations in the world. We always work with partners on the ground. So counting this year as though it were done, we will have completed 100 projects with 35 partners in 21 countries. 9 of those countries are in Africa. We are betting that entrepreneurs are the path forward. And we hope that the events, both the stories you're going to hear and the activities in which you're going to participate today are going to engage you, inform you, and maybe even inspire you to join us on that journey. Entrepreneurs can be the agents of change to bring prosperity and opportunity to Africa.
It's really important to be able to reward whoever takes the most risk. And that should be really clear. Even the definition of what risk means is really clear in all of these contractual agreements.
In dealing with the venture community here or the investor community here, failure is an option. It's failure is a viable option.
And one way is to look at some of the larger businesses that perhaps deal with smallholder farmers, and instead of investing directly in the smallholder farmers, invest in some of the upstream processors or larger companies that are then working with the smallholder farmers.
I'd say the first piece is making sure that an enabling environment is created that facilitates investment. It doesn't mean government has to get involved in the process, but just to create the framework. What are the pieces of that? That you can come into a country, deploy your money, and there's a defined understanding of what happens after that.
If the issue is that the government is not a reliable or sustainable partner, then you kind of treat them like a traditional sort of private sector or any traditional LP. So they invest into the fund, and it's not like they can pull out or liquidate at any point.
If you have 1 or 2 big names that have gone in and done their due diligence and said, yes, I'm going to put my capital behind this, then all of a sudden you have others saying, well, if so-and-so is gone, then I take this more seriously and I'm more willing to put my capital in following them.
I think there's amazing things that are starting to happen, certainly in South Africa. And we don't really have the legal framework for it yet, but definitely around social enterprises.
I think that the government has to go a step further, especially in some sectors like healthcare or like agriculture, and put the money where their mouth is as well. Because take your 22% IRR, to get that, they need to deliver at a certain price, and at a price that sometimes the consumers can't afford. It's so critical for the government to not just say, okay, it's a PPP, I've created the environment, I created the law, and then go do what you have to do. They really have to be very involved from the start and put money behind it as well.
Much of it is driven by the incubators, because they are inviting the people to come. They are working with them to educate them on, the process of running a business, starting a business, running a business.
Having a community, I think, is really, really powerful. And we typically, not only is it a community within our campus, but it creates a kind of a new normal, which otherwise wouldn't happen if we weren't bringing these people together.
Certainly, it wasn't just enough to do what we were doing, and so we've had to go back to restructuring. So, like Yohan said, we are just beginning to scale.
We deal in companies that there's a lot of regulatory issues, and that's kind of a shifting sand thing right now. And it's just very important for us to understand the lay of the land.
Since I had exposure to ICT and technology, and I had friends working in that sphere, just started a website with a couple of friends, which eventually grew into this company to optimize existing health infrastructure.
But I wonder, what are some of like the key ways or the key maybe programs or things that you have noticed have been like really important in like reconditioning like different individuals' interpretation or their mindset about entrepreneurship?
Many Africans are very entrepreneurial. So once they feel like they know enough and the space is still white space, they want to jump out. So I think one of the things that will help you is creating a sense of ownership that we are in this together, right? I think when people know that they own something and they are in this together with you, it's not rich owner, poor employees, but poor owner, poor employees, or rich owner, rich employees, then there is more of a strong commitment to be with you in the long run.
South America. So, look at them. Is it free? Your guys, is it free?
Let's get started.
My name is Michael.
We have to see there's I'm sorry, those will be coming in. Please sit down quickly. You have 30 seconds. Marty.
Is the Michael table?
Good morning, welcome. Rather than tell you a long speech about thinking, design thinking, we're just going to jump in and have you started. Design what you would call your ideal breakfast experience. These things are fast-paced and that's just how it is, okay? Let's get right along. We're going to quickly run you through a crash course in design thinking.
Try to find out what's really meaningful to your partner. What is it that they really care about? A great way to get through there is just ask why. Whatever they say, if there's something that triggers your mind, ask why and be really, truly curious.
Follow your instincts. So we want you to actually make some really big guesses, leaps about this person. What do you think the person really wants? What motivates him or her? Excellent. Great work. So you're going to take another 3 minutes to define the property. Is it something exciting, something that you would want to take on? And the way we are framing that is, I met your partner's name, that person, and what about that person I met? Let's say I met Olamide. So I met Olamide, who was an X. I would basically realize X, Y, Z about Olamide. It would be game-changing if ... And that last sentence is where a lot of the magic happens. So go crazy, but it should be something that inspires you, or really does meet the needs of your partner.
Doing brilliantly well or brilliantly terrible, right? That's where all the learning happens.
Brilliantly terrible. That's me.
Like, let's say, for example, I interviewed somebody and I was amazed to realize that mealtime was not family time. Like, it might be family time for me, but something that's really surprising to me just as an individual designer. So it's about really pivoting into trying to find something you can design for. This is actually the challenge around which you'll end up doing your design.
Not just, I met John, for example. That doesn't tell me much about the person I'm interviewing. You can say, John, a passionate student in his field, so that covers a little bit more about the emotion and describes the person that you're designing for.
And now it's time to have some fun. So we want you to start ideating and generating some ideas on how to potentially meet this need or meet this challenge or solve this problem for your partner. And there are 3 really important things that you need to keep in mind. 1, go for volume. Generate as many ideas as you can. 2nd, be visual. only use words if necessary. Try to sketch them out. And third, defer judgment. This is not the time for you to be critical. This is not the time to evaluate your ideas. Just let them come out. Maybe you realize that, oh, I did not understand this person's problem. That's great. That is great. That means you took some risk with your ideas and you failed and now you learn from that. Or maybe you were pretty close with one of your ideas and your partners seemed to really like it and it seemed to be meaningful for them. That's also great. Now you have the opportunity to further develop one idea. Remember that you need to be specific because this is an idea that you need to have a way to bring to life. So if your idea is a concept like healthy food or family, that's not going to work. You need to figure out what about healthy food does this person need and how will I get it to them? Or what about family does this person need in their breakfast experience and how can we bring that to life?
We are entering the prototype phase. Bring to life your idea. So what do I mean by bringing it to life? You have things in front of you with which to build. They look like toys, yes. I want you to get back into that space of when you were a kid before. Use your imagination. We want your partner to kind of get a sense of what it would be like if that thing you created actually existed. So if it's an actual product, go to town, build something, piece it together with tape, whatever you need to do to make it happen. If it's a service or a space or situation, then think about what you can do if it means getting up and acting and role-playing. You're free to use the space however you want to do it. Get up, move around the room. We want you to make this really come to life for the person. There should be no, oh, I just drew on the paper and that's that. This is actually the most fun part of this. So really get into it.
There's a really important concept called fail fast that we use in design thinking. Really cheaply and quickly bring your idea to life so that your partner or your user can interact with it and you can learn whether or not it works or not. Usually what a lot of organizations do is that they spend months of development and planning and they pour in money into a project and then they launch it and it's like a toss-up. Will it work? Will it not? They have no idea. So we want to teach you the principle of failing fast, and that's why you only got 7 minutes to build out your idea. A couple of things to remember. Don't defend your idea. Your idea is not precious. You want to learn more about your partner, and you want to see if it works for them or not. If it doesn't, that's great. That means you learned something. Let go of your prototype, both physically and emotionally. Give it to them. Watch them, interact with them, don't explain, but let them sort of discover.
So you just went through the 5 stages of design thinking. Congratulations.
We're going to take the skills that you already learned and put them to some design challenges that our panelists have brought before us today.
Starting with step 1, empathy is about hearing stories from your users, from observing them, and then immersing. So you're actually doing the things that your users do to see what you can learn from that and kind of put yourself in their shoes. The next step is define. For many people, especially those new to design thinking, this can be a really difficult step because it's where you have to kind of decide what you are moving forward with and what kind of the point of your project is going to be. And this is where we bring in what we call a point of view. The one that you guys did was, we met this person and we were surprised to find this, and it would be game-changing if we did that. That's one structure that we use for developing a point of view, which you then use as your guiding principle for the rest of the process. The next step is a lot of times the most fun and energetic, and that's the ideate phase. It's the most stereotypically D.School phase where you see post-its up on the wall and people standing in front of whiteboards and everybody's laughing and goofing and there are balloons everywhere. Now you have a guiding principle for what you're trying to solve. Now let's figure out some ways how to solve that. And the key pieces here is that you're just generating many solutions. Numbers, quantity over quality. Not worrying about judging the ideas, not worrying about whether the ideas are good or bad, because you don't know if the ideas are good or bad until you try them. None of you, no matter how good of a designer you are, you can't say whether an idea is good or bad until you try it out. And that's what the prototype phase is for. You build real versions, tangible versions of the ideas you have in order to see if they are feasible or if people like them and to see how the people interact with them. There might be something that you create based on an idea you have that will solve a problem, and you put it in front of a user, and they start doing something way different from what you're expecting them to do with it. And that is really valuable learning that you can take away and say, okay, either how do I capitalize on what they did do, or how do I make them do the things that I want them to do. And then finally, after you've built these prototypes, you're testing them in order to evaluate how the user feels about it, how they work. And so there's the kind of the empathy testing, which is more on the side of how the users feel about your prototypes and how they interact with them. And then there's the feasibility side of testing, which is, okay, using the laws of physics, or how the world works, does the thing work? And for a lot of products, that is kind of one of the key questions, is can we make this thing work?
We just wanted to actually, one thing that we should have shared with you before, because we had to decide who we actually were going to design for. Just so you know who we had in mind. Okay. You could probably see that kind of our innovation centered around this mobile truck. And I mentioned it briefly, but we decided that we wanted to innovate for truthful, an entrepreneurial, visionary processor, a successful farmer who's ready to step up to the next level.
You need scale there to be able to access the market. So whatever it is that they're selling, if you can help them find a market that is large and pays a good price, it will induce them to grow the right things.
We wanted to go out there and really engage people in a unique and Stanford-y way, in a Silicon Valley way, in something very specific to us. There are conferences around everywhere, and they are very similar. They look like mirror images of the one in DC or the one in Atlanta or something like that. But we have this very different way of thinking in California, and especially on Stanford's campus with the thinking. I mean, it was founded here, and we were thinking, how can we make this our own and not just any other conference? And I think we were able to accomplish that.
Real people use this process and they come up with designs for products and services that are impacting people in the world.
This seems like it's a circular process. I wouldn't even say it's a circular process. I'd say it's all over the map. You do whatever you need to do whenever you need to do it, kind of. And this is a structure that we set up, especially for those new to design thinking, because it's a structure that you can use if you're not sure what to do next. As you practice and as you get better at it, you realize what is important and what will create the most value for your team as designers stepping forward.
I guess people had sort of moved out of the box and were really creative and really innovative and came up with some great role playing. So I thought that was really great. The more comfortable people became with the tool, the more exploratory they were with tackling the problem.
When we got to the end, I saw a way that it could actually work for us and be very exciting in what we're doing. And I think that one of the hard things to do is to be able to listen to when people are giving you constructive criticism about your ideas and what doesn't work. And then to just say okay, and to sort of regroup and come back and go after coming up with a new solution that iterates on that.
Just think how everything moved from being interviewed to coming up with two possible solutions that we can implement, and to also see how doable they are. So it wasn't just brilliant ideas that would never work, but it's something that I'm really looking forward to going back and implementing.
We started with all the ideation and as others have said, really taking the constructive criticisms and analysis and guidance, and they actually came up with very, very close solutions that could really work. And I think as I sat through it, I couldn't help marveling that, wow, this could be the future leaders of the continent. And I think for me, that is really the greatest inspiration taken out of this, that if we had this much energy in the continent, what could happen?
The people who are thinking about this, and the groups, they're not thinking about this problem before. It's a problem that we're presenting now. But at the end of the day, the questions that we're asking and the solutions that they're coming up with is things that we're trying to experiment with, having thought about it for a very long time. So clearly this process gets results very fast, and it allows for collaboration to come up with really quality ideas.
The panelists, we were joking a couple hours ago that it would be fun to have a conference
where an actual business had to be launched and funded before anyone was allowed to leave. We were kind of kidding about it, but after hearing the 3 ideas I heard here, I think we're kind of at that point where the businesses that came out of that could be real businesses. And within 2 hours, it wasn't just kind of surface level elevator pitches. The teams really dug deep into kind of the nuts and bolts of how you would actually go about implementing them.
The question is, what was the most inspiring, enduring experience that I had today? Africa is on the precipice of greatness. It's truly encouraging and inspiring to see so many of you committed and passionate about the continent. You will be the future leaders of the continent. And I think the continent is in great hands. And I'm excited about that.
I just knew that there are certain things I could drop the ball on, and OP or Uche would just catch it.
Did you hear that? He intentionally drops the ball. It's
exactly.
Like, oh, OP's gonna catch that.
You're just amazing though. It's like, oh, we need tables. I don't think about the fact that we need tables and supplies and chairs and flights. Who the heck knows that people have to get from what? I'm just like, they'll be here, we'll do things. And OP's like, hang on. We need directions for people to get. I mean, just, she cares about people so much that she remembers all they need to have.
This is so fabulous.
You know what? I'm done.